You've tried faking it. You've tried standing tall, speaking loud, pretending you know what you're doing. And maybe it worked for a moment. Maybe people believed you. But when you were alone, when the performance ended, you still felt the same. Empty, uncertain. Like you were wearing a mask that didn't fit. That's because fake confidence isn't confidence at all. It's exhaustion disguised as strength. Real confidence doesn't come from pretending. It comes from proving. Proving to yourself, over and over, that you can handle what life throws at you. That you can keep promises you make to yourself. That you can fail and still stand up. This audiobook isn't about tricks to look confident. It's about becoming confident from the inside out. Through action, through honesty, through building a foundation so strong that nothing can shake it. If you're tired of pretending, if you're ready to build something real, stay with me. Because what you're about to learn will change not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. And that's where true power begins. Chapter 1. Stop performing and start building. Confidence is not a show. It's not something you put on in the morning and take off at night. Yet most people treat it that way. They walk into a room, shoulders back, chin up, trying to project an image of certainty they don't feel. And it works sometimes. People believe the performance. But the person performing, they know it's not real. They feel the gap between who they appear to be and who they actually are. That gap creates anxiety. It creates stress. It makes you feel like a fraud. You can't build real confidence by pretending you already have it. That's like trying to build muscle by flexing in the mirror. It looks good for a second, but the strength isn't there. Real strength, real confidence, is built through repetition, through doing hard things repeatedly until they become easy, through keeping promises to yourself, through facing fear and moving anyway. That's the work nobody talks about because it's not glamorous. It doesn't make for a good Instagram post, but it's the only work that actually builds confidence that lasts. Think about someone you know who is genuinely confident. Not loud, not arrogant, just solid. They don't need to prove anything. They don't need to dominate conversations or constantly remind people of their achievements. Their confidence is quiet because it's real. It's been earned through experience, through failures they survived, through challenges they overcame. That's the kind of confidence you want. And you can't fake your way there. The problem with fake confidence is that it requires constant maintenance. You have to keep performing. You have to keep pretending. And the moment you stop, the illusion collapses. Real confidence doesn't require maintenance. It's self-sustaining because it's built on a foundation of evidence. Evidence that you've collected through your own actions. Every time you do something difficult, you add to that evidence. Every time you keep going when you want to quit, you strengthen that foundation. Most people never build real confidence because they're too busy managing their image. They spend so much energy trying to look confident that they have none left for actually becoming confident. They focus on the external, the appearance, the performance. But confidence is an internal state. It's how you feel about yourself when nobody is watching. It's the relationship you have with yourself in private. And that relationship is either built on truth or built on lies. When you fake confidence, you're lying to yourself. You're saying, I need to pretend because who I actually am isn't enough. And every time you do that, you reinforce a belief that weakens you. You tell yourself that your real self needs to be hidden. That your authentic voice isn't worth hearing. that your genuine reactions aren't acceptable. This creates shame. And shame is the opposite of confidence. Real confidence comes from self-acceptance. Not self-delusion, but honest acceptance of where you are right now. Yes, you have weaknesses. Yes, you have gaps in your knowledge. Yes, you've made mistakes. But acknowledging that doesn't make you weak. It makes you honest. And honesty is the first step toward real growth. You can't improve what you won't acknowledge. You can't build on a foundation of pretense. The shift from performing to building starts with a decision. You decide that you're done pretending. You decide that you'd rather be awkward and authentic than smooth and fake. You decide that you're going to start doing the work that actually creates confidence instead of just mimicking the appearance of it. That decision is uncomfortable because it means letting go of the mask. It means being seen as you actually are, with all your uncertainty and imperfection. But here's what happens when you make that shift. People respect you more. Not because you suddenly became perfect, but because you became real. Authenticity is rare. Most people are so busy performing that they've forgotten how to be genuine. When you stop performing and start being honest about your journey, others connect with you on a deeper level. They see your struggle, and they see themselves in it. That's influence. That's leadership. That's real confidence. Building confidence without faking it means focusing on competence, not appearance. It means getting good at something through practice. It means learning to handle discomfort. It means training yourself to act despite fear. These are skills, not personality traits. And skills can be developed by anyone willing to put in the work. You don't need special genetics. You don't need a perfect childhood. You just need consistency. Every person who appears confident today was once uncertain. Every expert was once a beginner. Every strong person was once weak. The difference is, they didn't wait to feel confident before taking action. They took action and confidence followed. That's the secret. Confidence is not the starting point. It's the result. It comes after you've proven to yourself that you can handle challenges, after you've collected evidence of your own capability, after you've failed and survived. So, stop performing. Stop trying to project an image you don't feel. Start building instead. Start doing small things that prove to yourself you're capable. Keep promises you make to yourself. Show up when you say you will. Do the work even when you don't feel like it. That's how you build real confidence. One small proof at a time. One honest action at a time. Until the evidence becomes undeniable, even to you. The world doesn't need more people pretending to have it all figured out. It needs people brave enough to admit they don't, and disciplined enough to keep building anyway. Be that person. Stop performing confidence. Start building it. Chapter 2. Trust yourself through small promises kept. Confidence is not built through positive affirmations. It's not built by repeating "I am confident" in the mirror every morning. Words without action are just noise. Real confidence is built through proof. And the most powerful proof you can collect is evidence that you keep your word to yourself. Every time you make a promise to yourself and follow through, you make a deposit in your confidence account. Every time you break that promise, you make a withdrawal. It's that simple. Most people don't realize how much damage they do to their own confidence through broken self-promises. They tell themselves they'll wake up early tomorrow. They don't. They tell themselves they'll go to the gym today. They skip it. They tell themselves they'll finally start that project. They procrastinate. Each broken promise whispers the same message to your subconscious. I can't trust myself. And if you can't trust yourself, how can you feel confident? The path to real confidence starts with small promises. Not grand declarations. Not massive goals. Why? Small, achievable commitments that you can actually keep. Maybe it's making your bed every morning. Maybe it's drinking water before coffee. Maybe it's reading 5 pages before checking your phone. The size of the promise doesn't matter. What matters is that you keep it. Because every kept promise builds trust. And trust is the foundation of confidence. Think about people you trust in your life. Why do you trust them? Because they do what they say they'll do. They show up when they promise to show up. They follow through on commitments. That consistency creates trust. The same principle applies to your relationship with yourself. You need to become someone you can rely on. Someone who follows through. Someone whose word actually means something. When you keep small promises to yourself, something shifts internally. You start to believe in your own capability. Not because you told yourself you're capable, but because you have evidence. You proved it. You said you'd do something, and you did it. That proof is more powerful than any affirmation. It's real. It's undeniable. And it accumulates over time. The beautiful thing about small promises is that they're achievable. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need unlimited time or energy. You just need 5 minutes of discipline. Anyone can make their bed. Anyone can drink a glass of water. Anyone can do 5 push-ups. The point isn't the action itself. The point is training yourself to follow through, to keep your word, to become reliable to yourself. Start with one promise. Just one. Something so small you can't reasonably fail at it. Then keep it for 7 days straight. Don't add anything else. Don't try to change your entire life overnight. Just keep that one small promise. Every single day for a week. Notice how you feel on day 7. You'll feel different. Stronger means hop. More in control. That's confidence growing. Real confidence. Not because you faked it, but because you earned it. After 7 days, add another small promise. Maybe now you make your bed and do 10 minutes of reading. Keep both for another week. Then add another. You're building momentum. You're creating a pattern of follow-through. Your brain is learning that when you commit to something, you actually do it. That learning changes everything. It changes how you approach challenges. It changes how you see yourself. It changes your confidence. The opposite pattern is just as powerful, but in a destructive way. When you consistently break promises to yourself, you train your brain to not take you seriously. You become someone who talks but doesn't act. Someone who plans but doesn't execute. Someone who dreams but doesn't build. That pattern creates doubt. It creates hesitation. It creates the nagging feeling that you can't rely on yourself. And that feeling kills confidence faster than any external criticism. You might think keeping small promises is too simple to matter. That real confidence requires big achievements, major accomplishments, impressive results. But that's backwards. Big achievements are built on small disciplines. Major accomplishments come from minor consistencies. Impressive results emerge from boring fundamentals. You don't skip the basics and jump to mastery. You master the basics until they become automatic. Then you build from there. Consider how athletes build confidence. They don't just visualize winning. They practice the fundamentals thousands of times. They show up to training when they're tired. They execute the plan even when it's boring. They keep promises to themselves about their routine, their nutrition, their rest. All those kept promises add up to trust in their own ability. When game time comes, that trust manifests as confidence. They don't need to fake it. They've built it through repetition. You can do the same thing in any area of life. Want confidence in your career? Start keeping small promises about your work. Show up on time. Complete what you start. Do a little extra when no one's watching. Want confidence in relationships? Keep small promises about how you show up. Listen when you say you will. Call when you say you'll call. Be present when you commit to being there. Want confidence in your health? Keep small promises about your habits. Move every day. Eat what you plan to eat. Sleep when you said you'd sleep. The pattern is universal. Kept promises build trust. Trust builds confidence. It doesn't matter what area of life you're working on. The mechanism is the same. This is why fake confidence never lasts. It's not built on any foundation. It's just performance. But when you build confidence through kept promises, it becomes unshakable. Because it's real. It's based on evidence you collected yourself. Nobody can take that away from you. You'll also notice that as you build this foundation, your tolerance for discomfort increases. Keeping promises sometimes means doing things you don't feel like doing. That's where the growth happens. When you act despite your feelings, you prove to yourself that feelings don't control you. That realization is liberating. It means you're not at the mercy of your moods. You're not dependent on motivation. You can act regardless of how you feel. That's power. That's confidence. Start today. Right now. One day. Make one small promise to yourself. Something you'll do before you go to sleep tonight. Then keep it. Don't negotiate. Don't make excuses. Just do it. Then do it again tomorrow. And the day after. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're building trust with yourself. You're collecting evidence that you're someone who follows through. That evidence becomes your confidence. Not loud, not flashy, but solid and real. The journey from self-doubt to self-trust is paved with kept promises. Small ones. Simple ones. Consistent ones. You don't need a dramatic transformation story. You need a quiet accumulation of proof. Proof that when you say something to yourself, you mean it. That's how you build confidence without faking it. One kept promise at a time. Chapter 3. Face discomfort until it becomes familiar. Confidence and comfort cannot coexist. You cannot grow more confident while staying in your comfort zone. That's not how human psychology works. Confidence is built in the space between what you can easily do and what terrifies you. It's built in discomfort, in uncertainty, in situations where you don't know if you'll succeed, but you try anyway. That's where real confidence is forged. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They structure their entire lives around feeling safe and comfortable. They take the same routes, talk to the same people, do the same things. And they wonder why they don't feel confident. It's because they've never tested themselves. They've never pushed past their limits. They've stayed in a bubble where nothing challenges them. You can't build confidence in a bubble. You can only build it by stepping outside. Discomfort is not your enemy. It's your teacher. Every time you feel uncomfortable, you're at the edge of growth. That nervous feeling before speaking in public? That's growth knocking. What? That anxiety before trying something new? That's your potential waiting. That fear before having a difficult conversation? That's confidence trying to emerge. But it can only emerge if you move toward it, not away from it. Think about how confidence actually forms. You try something new. It feels uncomfortable. You feel nervous, maybe even scared. But you do it anyway. And you survive. Nothing terrible happens. You learn. You improve. Next time, it's a little less scary. A little more familiar. After enough repetitions, what once terrified you becomes normal. That's how confidence builds. Through exposure. Through repetition. Through making the uncomfortable familiar. The problem is most people quit at the discomfort. They feel the nervousness and interpret it as a sign to stop. They think, this doesn't feel right, so I shouldn't do it. But that's backwards. The discomfort is the signal that you should do it. It's your body's way of saying, this is new, this is uncertain, this requires growth. And growth is exactly what you need to build confidence. You cannot think your way into confidence. You can't read enough books or watch enough videos to become confident. You have to experience discomfort and survive it. You have to fail and recover. You have to embarrass yourself and realize it wasn't fatal. That's how the brain learns that fear is not danger. That discomfort is not damage. That you're capable of handling more than you thought. Start small. Boy, find something that makes you slightly uncomfortable and do it. Maybe it's saying hello to a stranger. Maybe it's asking a question in a meeting. Maybe it's trying a new hobby where you'll be a beginner. Do that thing repeatedly until it stops feeling uncomfortable. Then find something a little more challenging. Then something more challenging than that. You're training your nervous system to handle discomfort. You're expanding your comfort zone by living outside it. Each time you do something uncomfortable, you prove to yourself that discomfort is temporary. It doesn't last. You survive. You adapt. You grow stronger. That proof accumulates. Your brain starts to realize that uncomfortable situations aren't threats to avoid, they're challenges to embrace. That shift in perception changes everything. You stop running from growth and start moving toward it. Real confidence has a quality that fake confidence doesn't. It's calm. People with real confidence don't need to be loud or aggressive or dominating. They're comfortable with uncertainty because they've been through it before. They know they can handle whatever comes. That calm comes from experience, from repeated exposure to discomfort, from proving to themselves over and over that they're more capable than their fears suggest. You'll notice this in any field. The expert is relaxed. The beginner is tense. Why? Because the expert has faced that situation hundreds of times. It's familiar. What once made them nervous is now routine. They've built confidence through repetition, through exposing themselves to discomfort until it became comfortable. You can do the same in any area where you want confidence. Just show up repeatedly to the uncomfortable parts. The key is consistency. One uncomfortable experience won't transform you. But repeated exposure to discomfort rewires your brain. It teaches you that you can handle more than you think. It expands your sense of what's possible. It proves that fear is often a false alarm. The more evidence you collect, the more your confidence grows. Not because you're faking it, but because you've earned it through experience. There's also something important about failing in discomfort. When you try something uncomfortable and fail, and you survive that failure, you learn the most valuable lesson. Failure isn't fatal. You can fall and get back up. You can embarrass yourself and move on. You can be rejected and still be okay. That lesson is essential for confidence. Because confidence isn't about never failing. It's about knowing you can handle failure. Many people lack confidence because they've never allowed themselves to fail. They've played it so safe that they don't know what happens when things go wrong. So they catastrophize. They imagine failure as this terrible, irreversible disaster. But when you actually fail and survive, you realize it's just information. It's feedback. It's not a reflection of your worth. It's just a result. And results can change with different actions. The more you expose yourself to discomfort, the more you realize that most fears are exaggerated. Public speaking isn't as terrifying as you imagined. Starting a conversation with a stranger isn't as awkward as you thought. Asking for what you want isn't as humiliating as you feared. Your brain was protecting you from imaginary threats. But once you face them, and they don't destroy you, your brain recalibrates. It learns that these things are manageable. This is why confidence can't be faked. You can pretend you're comfortable, but your nervous system knows the truth. It knows you haven't actually faced the discomfort. It knows you're performing, not being. Real confidence comes from your nervous system learning through experience that it can handle stress. That learning only happens through doing, not through pretending. Make a list of things that make you uncomfortable. Not dangerous things, just uncomfortable. Things that trigger social anxiety or performance anxiety or uncertainty. Then systematically work through that list. One by one. Take the smallest discomfort and expose yourself to it repeatedly. Don't move to the next one until the first becomes easy. You're building confidence like you'd build muscle, through progressive resistance, through consistent challenge. You'll know you're building real confidence when discomfort stops controlling your decisions. When you feel nervous but move forward anyway. When fear becomes a signal to act, not to retreat. That's when you know the work is happening. You're not eliminating fear. You're changing your relationship with it. You're learning that confidence and fear can coexist. That you can be scared and still be capable. Confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. It's knowing that discomfort is temporary but growth is permanent. It's understanding that the things that scare you are usually the things you need to do. So fast discomfort, seek it out. Make it familiar. Because on the other side of discomfort is the confidence you've been searching for. Real confidence. Earned confidence. The kind that doesn't need to be faked because it's built on a foundation of survived challenges and proven capability. Chapter 4. Stop comparing and start competing with yesterday's you. One of the fastest ways to destroy your confidence is to compare yourself to others. When you measure your worth against someone else's achievements, you're playing a game you can't win. There will always be someone smarter, richer, more accomplished, better looking, or further ahead. Always. Comparison is an infinite trap that leads only to inadequacy. Real confidence comes from a different kind of measurement. Not comparing yourself to others, but competing with who you were yesterday. The problem with comparison is that you're comparing your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. You see their results, not their struggle. You see their success, not their failures. You see where they are now, not where they started. This creates a distorted picture that makes you feel behind, inadequate, or insufficient. But that feeling isn't based on reality. It's based on incomplete information and unfair standards. When you compare, you're also comparing different journeys, different starting points, different advantages and disadvantages, different timelines. It's like comparing a swimmer's time to a runner's time. They're not even in the same race. Your journey is yours. Your circumstances are unique. Your challenges are specific to you. Measuring your progress against someone else's makes no sense. It's not just unhelpful. It's illogical. The shift from comparison to self-competition changes everything. Instead of asking, "Am I as good as them?" you ask, "Am I better than I was yesterday?" That's a question you can actually answer. That's a measurement you control. You can't control how fast others progress, but you can absolutely control whether you progress, even if it's slow, even if it's small. Forward is forward. When you compete with yourself, the only person you need to beat is the person you were yesterday. That's a fair fight. That's a meaningful challenge. Did you learn something new? Did you improve a skill? Did you overcome a fear? Did you build a better habit? These are the metrics that matter. These are the measurements that build real confidence. Not because you beat someone else, but because you beat your own limitations. This approach also removes the bitterness that comparison creates. When you compare, you often feel resentment toward people who are ahead of you, or superiority toward people behind you. Both feelings are toxic. They disconnect you from genuine connection. They make you view others as competitors rather than fellow humans on their own path. But when you focus on self-competition, others stop being threats. They're just people on different journeys. You can celebrate their wins without feeling diminished. You can learn from them without feeling inferior. Competing with yourself also creates sustainable growth. Comparison creates pressure. Pressure creates anxiety. Anxiety creates paralysis. You become so worried about falling behind that you stop moving altogether. But self-competition creates motivation. Healthy motivation. The kind that says, "I can do a little better. I can improve a little more." That motivation is based on possibility, not inadequacy. It pulls you forward instead of pushing you down. The practice is simple. At the end of each day, ask yourself, how am I better today than yesterday? Maybe you handled a difficult situation with more patience. Maybe you learned one new thing. Maybe you spoke up when you normally would have stayed quiet. Maybe you exercised when you wanted to quit. These small improvements add up. They create momentum. They build confidence incrementally, sustainably, authentically. You'll also notice that self-competition makes progress visible. When you compare to others, you often feel like you're not moving because they're still ahead. But when you compete with yourself, you see the movement. You see how far you've come from where you started. That visibility is motivating. It shows you that effort matters, that consistency works, that you're actually making progress, even when it feels slow. Another benefit of self-competition is that it's forgiving. You have bad days. Everyone does. When you're comparing to others, a bad day feels like falling behind. But when you're competing with yourself, a bad day is just one day. Tomorrow, you can do better. You're not in a race with a finish line. You're on a journey of continuous improvement. There's no deadline. No final score. Just ongoing growth. This mindset also helps you appreciate your own pace. Some people learn fast. Some learn slow. Some have resources. Some start with nothing. Your pace is your pace. Comparing your progress to someone else's discounts your unique circumstances. But competing with yourself honors where you are. It says, given my situation, my resources, my challenges, how can I improve? That's a question that leads to real growth. Real confidence comes from knowing you're moving forward, not compared to anyone else. Just forward from where you were. When you stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against your past self, you reclaim your power. You stop being a victim of comparison. You become the author of your own progress. That shift is liberating. It removes the constant pressure to be better than someone else and replaces it with the simple challenge to be better than you were. Make this practical. Keep a journal. Every day, write down one way you improved. One small win. One thing you did better than before. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It just has to be true. Read back through that journal occasionally. You'll see a pattern of growth that would be invisible if you were only comparing yourself to others. That pattern is your confidence building. Real, earned, undeniable confidence. You'll also find that as you focus on self-competition, your relationship with setbacks changes. A setback isn't proof that others are better. It's information about what you need to work on. When you're only competing with yourself, failure loses its sting. It becomes feedback. You're not failing relative to others. You're learning relative to yourself. That reframe removes shame from the equation. And shame is what prevents growth. The ultimate freedom is not caring how you stack up against others. Not because you're arrogant or dismissive, but because their journey is irrelevant to yours. Your only job is to be better today than you were yesterday. To learn more, do more, become more. That's it. That's the whole game. And when you play that game consistently, confidence builds naturally. Not loud confidence that needs to announce itself. Quiet confidence that knows its own growth. Stop scrolling through social media, measuring your life against curated perfection. Stop feeling behind because someone else is ahead. Stop diminishing your progress because it doesn't match someone else's pace. Your progress is yours. Your journey is valid. Your growth matters. The only person you need to impress is the person you were yesterday. Beat that person. Every single day. That's how you build confidence that's real. That's unshakable. That's yours. Chapter 5. Accept failure as data, not identity. The difference between people with real confidence and people faking it is how they handle failure. Fakers avoid failure at all costs because their confidence is an act. If they fail, the act collapses. But people with real confidence expect failure. They see it as inevitable, as necessary, as information, not condemnation. This perspective shift is what separates temporary confidence from permanent confidence. When you learn to see failure as data rather than identity, you become unshakable. Most people tie their worth to their outcomes. If they succeed, they feel valuable. If they fail, they feel worthless. This creates a fragile sense of self. Your confidence rises and falls with results. That's not real confidence. That's conditional self-worth. Real confidence is stable regardless of outcomes because it's not based on never failing. It's based on knowing you can handle failure and keep moving. Failure is not a statement about who you are. It's information about what happened. When you attempt something and it doesn't work, you've collected data. You've learned what doesn't work. That's valuable. Edison didn't fail 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. He found 1,000 ways that didn't work. That's data collection. That's the scientific method. That's how progress happens. Not through perfect execution, but through iteration. Through trial and error. Through failing forward. The reason fake confidence crumbles under failure is because it has no foundation. It's not built on experience. It's built on pretense. So when reality contradicts the pretense, the whole structure collapses. But real confidence is built on experience, including the experience of failure. When you failed before and recovered, you know failure isn't permanent. You know you can survive it. That knowledge makes you resilient. It makes you willing to risk failure again because you know it won't destroy you. This is why avoiding failure actually prevents confidence from growing. When you play it safe, when you only do things you know you'll succeed at, you never build resilience. You never learn that you can handle adversity. Your confidence remains theoretical, untested, fragile, treed. But when you attempt difficult things, when you risk failure, when you actually fail and keep going, your confidence becomes empirical. It's based on proof. Proof that you can fall and get back up. The shift starts with language. Stop saying I failed. Start saying that didn't work. See the difference? I failed is about identity. That didn't work is about strategy. One makes failure personal. The other makes it situational. When failure is situational, you can change the situation. You can try a different approach. You can adjust. You can learn. But when failure is personal, it becomes who you are. And that's paralyzing. Another useful reframe: failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Every successful person has failed more than unsuccessful people have even tried. The difference is they didn't let failure stop them. They used it. They extracted the lesson. They adjusted their approach. They tried again. Failure wasn't an ending. It was a milestone on the path to success. Think about learning to walk. You fell hundreds of times, but you didn't interpret those falls as evidence that you weren't a walker. You didn't develop an identity as a faller. You just got up and tried again. That's how you learn everything. Through repeated attempts. Through falling and rising. Through failure and adjustment. Somewhere along the way, you forgot that. You started taking failure personally. But failure was never personal. It was always just feedback. When you accept failure as data, you start failing more strategically. You take bigger risks because you're not afraid of the outcome. You experiment. You try new approaches. You push boundaries. This creates accelerated growth. People who fear failure stay stuck in what they know. But people who see failure as data keep expanding. They learn faster. They grow more. They build real capability. And capability creates confidence. Not fake confidence based on nothing. Real confidence based on proven ability. This doesn't mean you should be reckless. It means you should be brave. There's a difference. Reckless means acting without learning. Brave means acting despite fear. When you fail, extract the lesson. What did you learn? What would you do differently? What worked? What didn't? This analysis turns failure into value. You didn't just fail. You invested in your education. You paid the tuition for a lesson you couldn't learn any other way. You'll also notice that when you stop taking personally, it stops hurting as much. It's still disappointing. You still wish the outcome was different. But it doesn't crush you. It doesn't make you want to quit. It's just information. Just one result out of many possible results. Just one attempt in a series of attempts. The emotional weight of failure decreases when you stop seeing it as a referendum on your worth. Real confidence includes the confidence to fail, the confidence to be wrong, the confidence to look foolish, because you know that none of those things define you. They're just moments, just experiences, just data points in a larger journey. When you have that confidence, you become free. Free to try. Free to experiment. Free to grow. You're no longer paralyzed by the fear of failure because failure no longer threatens your identity. Make failure normal. Expect it. Even seek it out. If you're not failing occasionally, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. You're staying too safe. Real growth happens at the edge of your ability. And at the edge, failure is common. That's how you know you're pushing. That's how you know you're growing. Failure is not a sign you should stop. It's a sign you're doing something worth doing. This perspective also makes you more honest. You don't need to pretend you never fail. You don't need to hide your mistakes. You can be open about what didn't work because it doesn't threaten your confidence. This honesty makes you more relatable, more trustworthy. People respect those who can admit failure without shame. It shows strength, not weakness. It shows real confidence, not fake bravado. The practice is this: after every failure, write down 3 things you learned. Force yourself to find the lessons. This trains your brain to look for value in failure instead of just feeling bad about it. Over time, you'll start seeing failure differently. Not as something to avoid, but as something to mine for insights. That shift changes your relationship with risk. You become willing to attempt difficult things because you know that even if you fail, you'll gain something valuable. Accept that failure is not optional. It's inevitable. If you're alive, you'll fail. The question is not whether you'll fail, but whether you'll let failure teach you or defeat you. People with real confidence let it teach them. They see every failure as tuition paid for wisdom gained. They collect those lessons. They use them. They become stronger, smarter, more capable. And that growth creates confidence that can't be faked, because it's earned through failure, through resilience, through refusing to let outcomes define worth. Stop running from failure. Stop pretending you don't fail. Stop letting failure make you feel like a failure. You're not a failure. You're a learner. You're an experimenter. You're someone brave enough to try things that might not work. That's not weakness. That's strength. That's confidence. Real confidence. The kind built on truth. The kind that knows failure is just data. And data makes you better. Chapter 6. Build skill through repetition, not shortcuts. Confidence without competence is delusion. You can't feel genuinely confident about something you're bad at. Fake confidence tries. It pretends expertise. It hides incompetence behind swagger. But real confidence comes from actual ability, from skill developed through repetition. from knowing that you've put in the work and earned the capability. There are no shortcuts to real confidence. You build it the same way you build anything worthwhile, through consistent, deliberate practice. Most people want confidence now. They want to feel capable without doing the work to become capable. They want the feeling without the foundation. But that's not how confidence works. Confidence is a byproduct of competence. When you get good at something through practice, confidence follows automatically. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to pretend. You simply know you can do it because you've done it hundreds of times before. Think about anything you're confident doing right now. Driving a car, cooking a meal, having a conversation. You're confident because you've done it repeatedly. The first time was uncertain, maybe scary. But after enough repetitions, it became easy. Natural, automatic, true. That's how skill develops. And confidence develops right alongside it. You didn't think your way into confidence. You practiced your way into it. The modern world loves shortcuts, life hacks, quick fixes, 3 easy steps to anything. But skill doesn't work that way. Skill is built through repetition, through doing the thing over and over until your brain and body know it intimately. There's no way around it. No magic pill. No secret technique. Just practice. And more practice. And more practice after that. This is why fake confidence is always brittle. It's not backed by skill. When challenged, it collapses. But confidence built on competence is solid. When challenged, it responds. Because the person actually knows what they're doing. They've put in the hours. They've done the repetitions. They've built real capability. That capability can't be faked. It has to be earned. The practice doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. You don't become skilled by practicing perfectly once in a while. You become skilled by practicing imperfectly all the time. Every repetition teaches you something. Every attempt builds neural pathways. Every hour of practice makes you a little bit better. The accumulation of those small improvements creates mastery. And mastery creates unshakable confidence. People often quit before the confidence comes because they don't see immediate results. They practice something a few times and still feel uncertain. So they assume it's not working. But confidence lags behind competence. You have to be competent for a while before you feel confident. There's a gap. You have to trust the process during that gap. I'd keep practicing even though you still feel unsure. The confidence will come, but only if you keep going. The key is deliberate practice. Not just mindless repetition. Deliberate means you're paying attention. You're noticing what works and what doesn't. You're making small adjustments. You're pushing slightly beyond your current ability. That's where growth happens. When you practice at the edge of your capability, you force your brain to adapt, to build new connections, to develop new skills. That's how competence grows. And competence is what creates real confidence. You also have to accept that the beginning is always awkward. Everyone who's good at something was once terrible at it. Everyone who looks confident now once felt completely lost. The difference is they kept practicing. They pushed through the awkward phase. They endured the discomfort of being bad until they got better. Most people quit during the awkward phase. They feel foolish. They feel exposed. So they stop. But the awkward phase is not a sign to quit. It's a sign you're learning. It's proof you're growing. Real confidence is quiet because it doesn't need to announce itself. When you've built real skill, you don't need to tell people you're good. They can see it. Your work speaks for you. Your competence is obvious. That's the confidence worth building. Not the loud kind that tries to convince others. The quiet kind that simply knows. This applies to every area where you want confidence. Want confidence in public speaking? Give 100 speeches. Want confidence in your career? Put in 1,000 hours of deliberate work. Want confidence socially? Have 1,000 conversations. The numbers matter. You can't do something 10 times and expect mastery. You need volume. You need repetition. You need time under tension. That's how skill develops. And skill is what creates confidence you can trust. You'll notice that as your skill grows, your anxiety decreases. Not because you're faking confidence, but because you actually know what you're doing. The uncertainty fades because the task has become familiar. You've seen every variation. You've handled every challenge. Your brain has a database of experiences to draw from. That database creates calm, creates assurance, creates real confidence. The practice itself becomes a form of meditation, a way of being present. When you're fully engaged in deliberate practice, you're not thinking about confidence. You're just doing, just learning, just improving. And ironically, that's when confidence grows most naturally. Not when you're focused on feeling confident, but when you're focused on getting better. Confidence is the side effect of skilled pursuit, not the goal itself. This is also why comparison is so damaging. When you compare your skill level to someone else's, you forget that they've done 10,000 hours and you've done 10. Of course, they're better. They've practiced more. But that doesn't mean you can't get there. You just need to put in the work. Stop comparing. Start practicing. All. Every expert was once a beginner. The only difference between you and them is repetitions. Make practice a daily ritual. Don't wait for inspiration. Don't wait until you feel ready. Just show up and practice. Every single day. Even if it's just for 15 minutes. Consistency beats intensity. Better to practice a little bit daily than a lot once in a while. Daily practice creates momentum. It keeps your skills sharp. It compounds over time. That compounding effect is what creates the kind of skill that produces unshakable confidence. You'll also find that the more you practice, the more you enjoy it. At first, it's hard, frustrating. You're bad, and you know it. But as you improve, as you start to see progress, practice becomes satisfying. You start to crave it. You start to identify as someone who practices, someone who's committed to mastery. That identity shift changes everything. You're no longer someone trying to be confident. You're someone building competence. And competence creates confidence automatically. Track your practice. Keep a log. Mark every session. Watch the numbers grow. There's something powerful about seeing day 100 or session 500 in your log. It's tangible proof that you're putting in the work. That proof builds confidence even before the skill is mastered. You know you're serious. You know you're committed. You know that if you keep this up, competence is inevitable. That knowledge is confidence growing in real time. Accept that mastery takes time. Years, not weeks. But those years will pass anyway. You can spend them wishing you were confident, or you can spend them building the skill that creates confidence. The choice is yours. But understand that there's no shortcut, no hack, no way to skip the work. Real confidence is earned through real practice, through repetition, through showing up day after day to build capability brick by brick. Stop looking for the easy way. Stop trying to fake it until you make it. Start practicing. Start building real skill. Start putting in the repetitions that create competence. Because when you have real skill, you won't need fake confidence. You'll have the real thing. Built on ability. Built on experience. Built on a foundation that can't be shaken. That's the confidence worth having. That's the confidence that lasts. That's the confidence you build through repetition, not shortcuts. Chapter 7. Speak less, observe more, learn constantly. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to fill every silence with words. It doesn't need to prove itself in every conversation. It's comfortable with listening, with observing, with learning. Fake confidence talks constantly. It tries to dominate conversations. It needs to be the smartest person in the room. But that need reveals insecurity. Real confidence knows that every person has something to teach. That listening is more valuable than speaking. That observation builds understanding. And understanding builds genuine capability. Most people talk more than they should. Not because they have valuable things to say, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. They fill the space with words to avoid the vulnerability of quiet. They speak to be noticed, to be validated, to feel relevant. But that kind of speaking doesn't build confidence. It depletes it. Because deep down you know you're performing. You know you're trying too hard. And that awareness creates anxiety, not confidence. When you speak less and observe more, you gain perspective. You start to notice patterns. You understand people better. You see what works and what doesn't. You collect data that actually helps you grow. Every conversation becomes a learning opportunity instead of a performance opportunity. That shift changes your relationship with social situations. You stop feeling pressure to impress. You start feeling curious to learn. That curiosity is a sign of real confidence. Confident people ask more questions than they answer. They're genuinely interested in understanding. They don't need to showcase their knowledge. They're too busy acquiring more. This approach makes them better learners, better thinkers, better decision makers. And over time, that makes them more capable, more competent, more confident. Not because they pretended to know everything, but because they admitted they didn't and worked to fill the gaps. Observation is an underrated skill. Most people go through life barely noticing what's happening around them. They're too busy talking, thinking about what to say next, checking their phones. But when you learn to observe, you see things others miss. You notice body language. You pick up on emotional undercurrents. You understand context. This awareness makes you more effective in every interaction, and effectiveness builds confidence. The practice is simple. In your next conversation, try to listen twice as much as you speak. Pay full attention. Don't think about your response while the other person is talking. Just listen. Really hear what they're saying. Notice what they care about. Notice what concerns them. Notice what makes them light up. This level of attention is rare. Most people are waiting for their turn to talk. But when you actually listen, you stand out. Not because you're performing, but because you're present. Learning constantly is what keeps confidence authentic. The moment you think you know everything, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, your confidence becomes brittle. It's based on past achievement, not current capability. But the world changes. Skills become obsolete. What worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. Real confidence comes from knowing you can learn whatever you need to learn. That ability to learn, to adapt, to grow, that's what makes you resilient. That's what makes you genuinely confident. Confident people are comfortable saying, "I don't know." They don't see it as weakness. They see it as opportunity. An opportunity to learn something new, to fill a gap, to become more capable. Insecure people pretend to know everything because they think knowledge equals worth. But confident people know that curiosity is more valuable than certainty. That questions are more powerful than answers. That admitting ignorance is the first step toward wisdom. When you speak less, people actually hear you more. Your words carry more weight because they're not constant. They're not noise. When you do speak, people pay attention. They know you've thought about it. That you've observed. That you have something worth saying. This creates influence. Real influence. Not the fake kind that comes from being loud. The real kind that comes from being thoughtful. This approach also reduces social anxiety. When you're not trying to perform, when you're not worried about impressing anyone, social situations become easier. You can relax. You can be genuine. You can focus on understanding rather than being understood. That shift removes pressure. And without pressure, confidence emerges naturally. You're not forcing it. You're not faking it. You're just being present. Just being curious. Just being real. Observation also helps you learn from others' mistakes. You don't have to experience every failure personally. You can watch. You can notice what doesn't work for others. What causes them problems. What leads to poor outcomes. This vicarious learning is incredibly valuable. It saves you time. It saves you pain. It helps you avoid pitfalls that trap others. This is wisdom. And wisdom creates confidence because it's based on comprehensive understanding, not just personal experience. The learning mindset is essential. When you see yourself as always learning, you remove the pressure to be perfect. You're not supposed to have all the answers. You're supposed to be getting better. That perspective is liberating. It means every interaction is progress. Every conversation is growth. Every observation is education. Nothing is wasted. Everything contributes to your development. And that development is what builds real, lasting confidence. Make this a daily practice. Before you enter any social situation, set an intention to observe and learn. Not to impress. Not to prove yourself. Just to understand. Notice how people interact. Notice what creates connection. Notice what creates distance. Notice what works and what doesn't. Take mental notes. Reflect on what you observed later. This deliberate observation accelerates your learning. It makes you socially intelligent. And social intelligence creates social confidence. You'll also find that when you speak less, you think more clearly. Your mind isn't cluttered with the need to respond immediately. You can process. You can consider. You can choose your words carefully. This makes you more articulate when you do speak. More precise. More impactful. Quality over quantity. That's what real confidence sounds like. Listening deeply also builds better relationships. People feel valued when you actually pay attention to them. They feel heard. They feel understood. This creates trust. And trust creates connection. And connection creates opportunities. Opportunities to learn. Opportunities to grow. Opportunities to build the kind of network that supports your development. All because you learn to listen more than you speak. This doesn't mean becoming passive. It doesn't mean never sharing your thoughts. It means being selective, intentional, strategic. Continuous. Speak when you have something valuable to say. Stay quiet when you have something valuable to learn. That wisdom, knowing when to speak and when to listen, that's a sign of genuine confidence. Not the fake kind that needs constant validation. The real kind that knows its own value without needing to announce it. Real confidence is comfortable with silence. It doesn't need to fill every gap. It can sit with quiet. It can let others speak. It can observe without commenting. Discomfort with silence is rare. Most people are terrified of it. But silence is where insight happens, where understanding deepens, where learning occurs. When you embrace silence instead of fighting it, you access a level of wisdom that constant talking blocks. Speak less and observe more. Learn constantly. This triad creates a foundation for confidence that can't be faked, because it's built on genuine understanding, on real wisdom, on capability that comes from comprehensive learning. You're not pretending to be confident. You're developing the competence that makes confidence natural. That's the difference. That's what makes it real. That's what makes it last. Chapter 8. Own your mistakes without shame or excuses. Nothing destroys confidence faster than the inability to admit mistakes. When you can't own your errors, when you deflect blame or make excuses, you train yourself to be fragile. You become someone who can't handle being wrong. And that fragility is the opposite of confidence. Real confidence includes the ability to say I was wrong without your identity collapsing. To own mistakes completely. To take responsibility without shame. That ownership is what separates genuine confidence from its fake counterpart. Fake confidence is defensive. It protects its image at all costs. It can't admit fault because the entire performance is built on appearing perfect. If perfection cracks, the whole thing falls apart. But real confidence doesn't require perfection. It's built on honesty, on accountability, on the understanding that everyone makes mistakes, and character is defined by how you handle them, not whether you make them. When you make a mistake and immediately own it, something powerful happens. You take control of the narrative. You define the situation instead of letting it define you. You show that you're not scared of being wrong, that you value truth more than image, that you're secure enough to acknowledge imperfection. This display of ownership is what confidence actually looks like. Not never making mistakes, but making them and handling them with grace. Most people can't own mistakes because they see them as threats to their worth. If I made a mistake, I must be inadequate. If I was wrong, I must be stupid. But that's a fundamental misunderstanding. Mistakes are not statements about your value. They're statements about your actions in a specific moment. You can do something wrong without being wrong. You can make a bad decision without being a bad person. Separating action from identity is essential for building real confidence. The practice of owning mistakes without shame requires self-compassion. You have to talk to yourself the way you talk to a good friend who made an error. Not with harsh criticism. Not with contempt. But with understanding. With perspective. With the recognition that humans make mistakes. That's part of learning. Part of growing. When you treat yourself with compassion after mistakes, you remove the fear of making them. And removing that fear is what allows you to take the risks necessary for growth. Excuses are the enemy of confidence. Every time you make an excuse, you give away your power. You position yourself as a victim of circumstances. You say that external factors controlled the outcome. But confidence comes from internal locus of control. From believing that your actions determine your results. When you make excuses, you contradict that belief. You tell yourself that you're not really in control. And that belief weakens you. Own your mistakes completely. Without qualification. Without but. Don't say I made a mistake, but... That but erases the ownership. It deflects. Just say, I made a mistake. Full stop. Then explain what you learned and how you'll do better. That's it. That's accountability. And accountability builds respect, both from others and from yourself. When you see yourself owning your mistakes consistently, you start to trust yourself more. You become someone reliable, someone honest, someone with integrity. And integrity is the foundation of real confidence. You'll notice that people with real confidence admit mistakes easily. They don't defend. They don't justify. They just acknowledge, learn, and move forward. That ease comes from knowing that mistakes don't define them. They have enough experience with failure to know it's not fatal. They've owned enough mistakes to know that accountability doesn't destroy you. It strengthens you. It builds character. It creates trust. Shame is different from accountability. Shame says, I am bad. Accountability says I did something bad. Shame is about identity. Accountability is about behavior. Shame is paralyzing. Accountability is empowering. When you own a mistake with accountability, you maintain your power. You can learn. You can change. You can improve. But when you sink into shame, you lose that power. You become stuck in self-loathing. That's not confidence. That's the opposite. The faster you own mistakes, the faster you can move past them. When you resist accountability, when you make excuses or blame others, the mistake lingers. It takes up mental space. It creates tension. But when you immediately own it, you resolve it. You clear it. You can move on. This agility is what allows confident people to maintain momentum, even after errors. They don't get bogged down. They acknowledge, learn, and continue. That's resilience in action. Owning mistakes also improves your relationships. When you can admit when you're wrong, people trust you more. They know you're honest. They know you value the relationship more than your ego. This creates deeper connection, better collaboration, stronger bonds. Because everyone makes mistakes. But not everyone can admit them. Those who can stand out, they become people others want to work with, want to befriend, want to trust. This doesn't mean dwelling on mistakes. Own them, learn from them, then let them go. Don't carry them as shame. Don't replay them endlessly. Extract the lesson. Make the necessary changes, then move forward. Confidence comes from knowing you can make mistakes and recover, not from never making mistakes at all. The recovery is what matters. The learning is what counts. The ability to own it and move on is what creates strength. Make this a practice. Every time you make a mistake, big or small, immediately own it. Out loud if others are involved. To yourself, if you're alone. Say I made a mistake. Notice how it feels. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. Your ego might resist. But over time, it becomes easier. Natural. That's out. You'll start to see that owning mistakes doesn't diminish you. It elevates you. It shows character. It demonstrates confidence. Real confidence. The kind that doesn't need to be perfect because it's secure in its ability to handle imperfection. You'll also notice that when you own your mistakes, others often do the same. Your accountability gives them permission to be accountable. You create a culture of honesty, of learning, of growth. This benefits everyone. It makes teams stronger, relationships healthier, organizations more effective. All because you had the confidence to admit when you were wrong. Real confidence knows that perfection is impossible, that everyone stumbles, that mistakes are inevitable. It also knows that character is built in how you respond to those mistakes. Do you hide? Do you blame? Do you make excuses? Or do you own it? Do you learn? Do you grow? That choice defines you. Not the mistake itself. Mistake is just an event. Your response is who you are. Own your mistakes without shame or excuses. See them as opportunities, as feedback, as lessons, not as threats to your identity. When you can do that consistently, when ownership becomes your default response, you've built something that can't be faked. Real accountability, real integrity, real confidence, the kind that knows it's okay to be wrong. Because being wrong is just part of being human. And being human is exactly what you're supposed to be. Chapter 9. Protect your energy from people who drain it. Confidence is not just about what you build. It's also about what you protect. You can do all the right things to develop genuine confidence, but if you surround yourself with people who drain your energy, who diminish your efforts, who pull you back into doubt, you'll struggle to maintain what you've built. Real confidence requires boundaries. It requires being selective about who gets access to your time, your energy, your mental space. This isn't selfish. It's essential. Some people are energy vampires. They take more than they give. They complain constantly. They criticize without building. They focus on problems without seeking solutions. They drag conversations into negativity. They make everything about their drama. When you spend time with them, you leave feeling depleted, exhausted, heavy. That's your signal. That's your body telling you this person is not good for you. And confidence requires listening to those signals. You cannot build confidence while constantly defending yourself against people who undermine you. Every time someone questions your goals, dismisses your efforts, or mocks your ambition, they plant a seed of doubt. If you're around those people regularly, those seeds grow. They become your internal voice. They become the doubt that stops you from taking action. Protecting your confidence means removing yourself from environments where doubt is planted, where negativity is normalized, where your growth is resented. This is hard because often these people are close to you. Family, old friends, colleagues, people you've known for years. But proximity doesn't equal priority. Just because someone has been in your life a long time doesn't mean they should stay there, especially if they're actively working against your development. Real confidence requires tough decisions. You have to choose your growth over their comfort, your progress over their approval, your future over their expectations. The practice starts with awareness. Notice how you feel after spending time with different people. Who energizes you? Who depletes you? Who supports your goals? Who undermines them? Who celebrates your wins? Who downplays them? Keep a mental inventory. Be honest. You'll see patterns. Some people consistently lift you. Others consistently lower you. Once you see the patterns, you have to act on them. Increase time with the lifters. Decrease time with the lowerers. It's that simple. Not easy, but simple. Setting boundaries doesn't require explanation. You don't owe anyone a detailed justification for why you're limiting contact. You can be kind, but firm. You can slowly create distance without drama. You can say no to invitations without providing reasons. You can choose how you spend your time without seeking approval. This is your life, your energy, your confidence. You get to decide who deserves access to it. You'll notice that as you protect your energy, your confidence grows faster. Because you're no longer fighting against constant negativity. You're no longer absorbing other people's doubts. You're creating an environment that supports your growth instead of hindering it. That environment is essential. You can't grow a plant in toxic soil. You can't build confidence in a toxic social environment. You need the right conditions. And sometimes that means removing the wrong people. This also means being careful about who you share your goals with. Not everyone deserves to know what you're working on. Some people will discourage you. Not because they're evil, but because your growth threatens them. It reminds them of what they're not doing. It makes them uncomfortable. So they'll try to bring you back down. They'll tell you it's unrealistic, that you're changing, that you're not being yourself. But what they really mean is you're not being who they need you to be. And that's not your problem. That's theirs. Confident people are selective about their inner circle. They understand that the 5 people you spend the most time with shape who you become. If those 5 are driven, positive, and growth-oriented, you'll be pulled in that direction. If they're negative, stagnant, and cynical, you'll be pulled there. You become the average of your influences. So choose influences that elevate you, that challenge you, that believe in your potential. That's not using people. That's being strategic about your own development. Protecting your energy also means limiting exposure to media that depletes you, news that makes you anxious, social media that makes you feel inadequate, content that focuses on problems without solutions. All of this drains your confidence. It fills your mind with negativity, with comparison, with fear. You have to curate what you consume. Be ruthless. If it doesn't add value, if it doesn't educate, inspire, or entertain in a healthy way, remove it. Your attention is limited. Protect it. You might feel guilty at first, like you're abandoning people who need you. But here's the truth. You can't help anyone if you're depleted. You can't lift others if you're being pulled down. You have to secure your own oxygen mask first. Build your own confidence first. Then, from that strong foundation, you can help others. But not before. Not at the expense of your own growth. That's not noble. That's self-sacrifice that serves no one in the long run. Real confidence attracts. When you protect your energy and build genuine confidence, you naturally draw in better people. People who appreciate growth, who respect boundaries, who add value instead of draining it. These relationships are reciprocal, balanced. Energizing due and all your Zustand. They support your confidence instead of threatening it. That's the kind of social circle worth having. Not the people who've always been there. The people who belong there now. This doesn't mean becoming isolated. It doesn't mean trusting no one. It means being selective, intentional. Day. It means understanding that your social environment is either supporting your confidence or undermining it. There's no neutral. Every person you spend time with either adds to your energy or subtracts from it. Once you see that clearly, the choices become obvious. Not easy, but obvious. Make this practical. Look at your calendar for the past month. Who did you spend time with? How did you feel after each interaction? Create 2 lists, people who energize and people who drain. Then look at your upcoming month. How can you increase time with the energizers? How can you decrease time with the drainers? Make those adjustments. Even small shifts add up. Over time, you'll have completely transformed your social environment. And that transformation will accelerate your confidence growth exponentially. You'll also find that as you set these boundaries, some people will protest. They'll say you've changed. They'll try to guilt you. They'll make you feel selfish. That's their fear talking. Their discomfort. Don't let it sway you. Real friends, real family will respect your growth. They'll adjust. They'll support you even if they don't fully understand. The ones who fight your boundaries are often the ones who benefited from your lack of them. Let them go. Protecting your energy is not optional if you want real confidence. It's essential. You're building something valuable. That requires focus. Requires positivity. Requires support. You can build it while constantly defending against negativity, while absorbing other people's doubts, while being pulled back into environments that don't serve you. You have to protect what you're building. Guard it. Nurture it. Surround it with the right conditions. That's how confidence grows strong. That's how it becomes unshakable. Not in isolation, but in the right company. The company you deliberately choose. The company that deserves access to your energy, your time, your growth. Chapter 10. Live your values when no one is watching. The ultimate test of real confidence is how you act when no one is watching. when there's no audience, no recognition, no applause, just you and your choices. That's where character lives. That's where authentic confidence is revealed. Because fake confidence is a performance that requires witnesses. But real confidence is who you are in private. It's the standards you hold yourself to when nobody would know if you broke them. That integrity is what makes confidence unshakable. Your values are what you do, not what you say. Everyone claims to value integrity, growth, discipline. But do you live those values in the moments that don't count? When you're tired? When no one will find out? When taking the shortcut would be easier? Those moments define you more than any public declaration. Real confidence comes from knowing that your private actions match your public claims. That there's no gap between who you appear to be and who you actually are. Living your values when no one is watching means doing the right thing even when it costs you, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's difficult. It's keeping your workout commitment when you could skip it and no one would know. It's doing quality work when you could cut corners and no one would notice. It's being honest when you could lie and get away with it. These private choices build confidence because they build self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of all genuine confidence. When you compromise your values in private, you create internal conflict. Part of you knows you're not living up to your own standards. That knowledge creates guilt. Shame did day. Self-doubt did turn out. You might project confidence publicly, but internally you feel like a fraud. Because you are. You're saying one thing and doing another. That contradiction erodes confidence from the inside. You can fool others, but you can't fool yourself. And it's your own opinion of yourself that determines your confidence level. The integrity to live your values without an audience requires clarity. You have to know what your values actually are. Not what you think they should be. Not what sounds good. What they actually are. What principles guide your life? What matters most to you? What are you unwilling to compromise? Write these down. Make them explicit. Because vague values are easy to violate. Specific values create accountability, even when you're alone. Once you know your values, the work is simply aligning your actions with them. Every day, in every situation. This sounds simple, but it's not easy, because living your values often conflicts with your desires. You value health, but you want the junk food. You value honesty, but the lie is convenient. You value discipline, but comfort is tempting. Real confidence comes from choosing your values over your desires, from making decisions based on principles, not feelings. That consistency is what builds character. And character is what creates genuine confidence. You'll notice that people with real confidence have a calmness about them. They're not anxious about being discovered. They're not worried about their past catching up to them. They're not stressed about maintaining an image. Because there's no image to maintain, they're the same person in public and private. That alignment creates peace. Peace creates confidence. Not the loud, performative kind. The quiet, solid kind. The kind that comes from integrity. Living your values also creates pride. Not arrogance, but healthy pride. The feeling of, I did the right thing even when it was hard. That feeling is deeply satisfying. It's more satisfying than any external validation. Because it's real. It's earned. It's between you and yourself. Nobody gave it to you. You created it through your choices. That kind of pride builds confidence that can't be taken away, because it's not dependent on others' opinions. It's dependent on your own actions. The practice requires daily attention. Before you make any decision, ask, does this align with my values? If yes, proceed. If no, don't. Even if no one will know. Even if you could get away with it. Even if saying no costs you something. This practice is how you build integrity. How you become someone you can trust. How you create confidence that's based on truth, not pretense. You'll be tested. Situations will arise where compromising your values would be beneficial. Where lying would solve a problem. Where cutting corners would save time. Where dishonesty would protect you. These are the moments that define you. Not your successes. Not your achievements. Your choices when no one is looking. When the easy path is also the wrong path. Choose the hard right over the easy wrong. Every single time. That's how you build confidence that lasts. This isn't about perfection. You'll mess up. You'll make choices that don't align with your values. When that happens, own it immediately. Don't rationalize. Don't justify. Just acknowledge that you missed the mark. Then recommit. The pattern of acknowledging and recommitting is what matters. Not never failing, but always returning to your values. That pattern builds integrity over time, and integrity builds confidence. Living your values when no one is watching also makes you more authentic in public. You don't have to remember what you said or what story you told. You don't have to manage different versions of yourself. You're just you. Consistent. Honest. Aligned. That simplicity is freeing. It removes the cognitive load of maintaining a false image. It allows you to be present, to be genuine, to connect deeply. That authenticity is magnetic. People feel it even if they can't name it. Real confidence is not impressive. It's trustworthy. People with real confidence don't need to prove anything. They know who they are. They know they live by their values. They know they can trust themselves. That self-trust radiates. It makes others feel safe. Feel confident in turn. That's leadership. That's influence. That's the kind of confidence that changes not just your life, but the lives of people around you. Make this your standard. I will live my values when no one is watching. I will do the right thing even when it costs me. I will be the same person in private that I claim to be in public. That standard is high. It's difficult. It requires constant vigilance, but it's the only standard that creates real confidence. Because real confidence is not performance. It's character. And character is what you do when no one is looking. Every private choice is a vote for who you're becoming. Choose based on your values, not your feelings. Choose integrity over convenience. Choose character over comfort. Make those choices consistently, day after day, year after year, and you'll build something that can never be taken from you. Something that doesn't depend on external validation. Something that's yours alone. Real confidence. Earned confidence. The kind built on a foundation of integrity. The kind that knows itself. Trusts itself. Respects itself. That's the confidence worth building. That's the confidence that lasts. That's the confidence you create by living your values when no one is watching. Chapter 11. Celebrate small wins without waiting for big ones. Most people never feel confident because they're waiting for the big win, the promotion, the achievement, the recognition. They tell themselves, "I'll feel confident when I finally succeed." But that's backwards. Confidence doesn't come from the destination. It comes from noticing the journey, from celebrating the small wins that nobody else sees, from acknowledging progress even when it's invisible to others. You can't build confidence by ignoring your daily victories. Every time you do something difficult and dismiss it as not enough, you rob yourself of the proof you need. That proof accumulates. It becomes your evidence. But only if you notice it. Only if you acknowledge it. Only if you give yourself credit for showing up, for trying, for improving even slightly. The small wins are where real confidence grows. You kept your promise to yourself today. That's a win. You spoke up when you normally stay quiet. That's a win. You tried something new despite feeling nervous. That's a win. These moments seem minor, but they're building blocks. Each one adds to your foundation. Each one proves you're capable. Each one deserves recognition. Confident people don't wait for permission to feel good about themselves. They don't need external validation to acknowledge their progress. They notice their own growth. They celebrate their own effort. Not in a loud way, not by bragging, but internally, privately. They give themselves credit. They say, "I did that. It was hard, and I did it anyway." That self-recognition builds confidence faster than any trophy. The practice is simple. At the end of each day, write down 3 small wins. Things you did that moved you forward. They don't have to impress anyone. They just have to be true. Maybe you exercised for 10 minutes. Maybe you read 5 pages. Maybe you had one difficult conversation. Write them down. See them. Acknowledge them. This practice trains your brain to notice progress, to value effort, to recognize growth. When you celebrate small wins, you create positive momentum. Your brain learns that effort leads to satisfaction, that trying is rewarding, that progress feels good. This creates a cycle. You act, you notice, you feel good, you act again. That cycle builds confidence organically, not because you faked it, but because you created evidence of your capability through consistent action and recognition. You'll also find that celebrating small wins makes big wins more meaningful. When success comes, you'll know it wasn't luck. You'll know it was built on hundreds of small victories, on daily discipline, on consistent effort. You earned it through the small wins nobody saw. That knowledge makes confidence unshakable. You didn't stumble into success. You built it. One small win at a time. Stop waiting for the big moment to feel confident. Start noticing the small moments that are building confidence right now. Today, in this hour, in this choice, every small win matters. Every bit of progress counts. Every step forward deserves recognition. Give yourself that recognition. Not because you're perfect, but because you're trying. Because you're showing up. Because you're growing. That's worth celebrating. That's where real confidence lives. In the small wins. In the daily progress. In the quiet victories that only you can see. Celebrate them. They're building something bigger than you realize. You've learned the truth now. Confidence cannot be faked. Not in any meaningful, lasting way. You can pretend. You can perform. You can put on a show. But deep inside, you'll know it's not real. And that knowledge will undermine you every time. Real confidence is built. It's earned. It's developed through consistent action, through honest self-assessment, through facing discomfort, through keeping promises, through living with integrity. Everything we've covered comes down to one principle: authenticity. Being real. Being honest. Being willing to be imperfect while still striving for excellence. That's what separates fake confidence from real confidence. Fake confidence needs perfection. Real confidence accepts imperfection and grows anyway. Fake confidence needs approval, guide. Real confidence values self-respect more. Fake confidence is a mask. Real confidence is your face. The work is not easy. Building real confidence requires discipline, requires patience, requires doing things that scare you, requires failing and recovering, requires showing up when you don't feel like it, requires protecting your energy, requires living your values in private. This is not a weekend project. This is a lifelong practice. But it's the most valuable practice you'll ever undertake, because confidence affects everything. Your career, your relationships, your health, your happiness. Your entire life experience changes when you move through the world with real confidence instead of fake bravado. The beautiful thing is, you don't have to wait until you're fully confident to start living differently. The confidence builds as you take action. It grows with every small promise kept. It strengthens with every uncomfortable situation you face. It deepens with every failure you own. It solidifies with every value you uphold in private. You're not waiting to become confident before you act. You're acting, and confidence is emerging as a result. Remember this: every person you admire for their confidence built it the same way. Through experience, through failure, through consistent effort, through honest self-reflection. They weren't born with it. They developed it. And what one person can develop, another can too. There is nothing special about confident people except that they did the work. They stopped pretending and started building. You can do the same. The journey from insecurity to genuine confidence is not linear. Some days you'll feel strong. Other days you'll doubt yourself. That's normal. That's human. Confidence is not the absence of doubt. It's the ability to act despite doubt. It's knowing that feelings come and go, but your commitment to growth remains constant. On the hard days, remember why you started. Remember that fake confidence never satisfied you. That performing was exhausting. That you want something real, something solid, something that's actually yours. You'll face resistance from others. Some people benefit from your insecurity. They prefer you uncertain. Your growth makes them uncomfortable. They'll try to pull you back. They'll question your changes. They'll mock your efforts. Let them. Their opinion doesn't matter. What matters is the relationship you're building with yourself, the trust you're developing, the integrity you're creating. That's yours. Nobody can take it. Nobody can diminish it. It's the one thing in life that's completely under your control. As you build real confidence, you'll notice changes beyond just feeling better about yourself. You'll make better decisions. You'll attract better relationships. You'll create better opportunities. You'll handle challenges with more grace. You'll bounce back from setbacks faster. You'll stop second-guessing yourself constantly. You'll sleep better knowing you're living with integrity. These are the real benefits of real confidence. Not the shallow rewards of looking confident, but the deep satisfaction of being confident. The practices we've covered are not complex. Keep small promises. Face discomfort regularly. Compete with yourself, not others. See failure as data. Build skill through repetition. Speak less, learn more. Own your mistakes completely. Protect your energy from drains. Live your values in private. These are simple practices. But simple doesn't mean easy. They require consistency. They require commitment. They require choosing the hard right path over the easy wrong one. Day after day. Week after week. Year after year. But here's what makes it worth it. The confidence you build this way can never be lost. External confidence, the kind based on achievements or appearance, can disappear. You can lose your job, lose your looks, lose your status. And if your confidence was based on those things, it vanishes with them. But confidence based on character, based on integrity, based on your ability to keep your word and live your values, that can never be taken from you. That's yours forever. That's what makes it real. You stand at a choice point right now. You can continue faking confidence, performing for others, exhausting yourself trying to maintain an image. Or you can start building real confidence through honest action, through consistent effort, through living with integrity. The first path is familiar but unfulfilling. The second path is challenging but transformative. Which will you choose? I believe you're here because you're ready for real confidence. You're tired of the performance, tired of the anxiety, tired of feeling like a fraud. You want something solid, something genuine, something you can trust, and you can have that. It's available to you, but you have to do the work. Nobody can build your confidence for you. No book, no course, no motivational speech can do it. They can only show you the path. You have to walk it. Start today, right now. Choose one practice from this audiobook. Maybe it's keeping one small promise to yourself daily. Maybe it's facing one uncomfortable situation each week. Maybe it's owning your next mistake without excuse. Whatever you choose, commit to it. Do it consistently. Let it build. Then add another practice. Then another. Over time, these practices will compound. They'll transform you. Not overnight. Not in a week. But over months and years, you'll become someone you can trust. Someone you respect. Someone genuinely confident. The world doesn't need more people pretending to have it all figured out. It needs people brave enough to admit they don't, and disciplined enough to grow anyway. It needs people with real confidence. The kind that's built on truth. The kind that inspires others not by performing, but by being authentic. The kind that changes lives not through empty motivation, but through genuine example. You can be that person. You can build that confidence. You can stop faking and start becoming. This is not the end. This is the beginning. The beginning of your journey from fake confidence to real confidence. From performance to authenticity. from exhaustion to peace, from self-doubt to self-trust. The path is clear. The practices are simple. The work is yours. And the reward, the deep, unshakable confidence that comes from knowing yourself and trusting yourself. That reward is worth every uncomfortable moment, every difficult choice, every private victory. So stop faking it. Start building it. Stop performing confidence. Start creating it. Through small promises kept. Through discomfort faced. Through mistakes owned. Through energy protected. Through values lived. That's how you build confidence without faking it. That's how you become genuinely, authentically, unshakably confident. Not because someone told you that you are, but because you proved it to yourself. One choice at a time. One day at a time. One honest action at a time. Your journey starts now. How you build real confidence without faking it. The choice is yours. The power is yours. The confidence you seek is waiting. Not out there, but inside you. Waiting to be built. Waiting to be earned. Waiting to be lived. Go build it. Not for others. For yourself. Because you deserve confidence that's real. Confidence that's true. Confidence that's yours.